So here's a question. If you could live in any anime world ever, which one would it be? I assume that most people when asked that question are gonna choose something in the sci-fi, fantasy, supernatural realm, something shonen or mecha maybe, because in those worlds you have the capability to be pretty much anything and anyone that you want to be, or at least most of them. Anything like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, or One Piece where you can learn a skill set or find a magical item, you can pretty much work hard enough to be whatever you want. And to be fair, if you had a choice of any anime world to live in, a shonen probably wouldn't be a bad decision. I mean, you know everything that happens in shonens, you know the tropes, you can probably sidestep most things or just train really hard and be whoever you wanted to be. But there is an innate problem that comes with that, and it's probably not what you're thinking. It's an issue not with the logistics of being in any specific world, because we would be here all day. No, it's an issue pertaining particularly to the narrative of being in any kind of sci-fi, fantasy, or supernatural world in anime. Because when it comes to the narrative structure of world building in anime, you can kind of do anything you want. You can kind of do anything you want in a book too, or a TV show, but with anime it's usually a little bit more. I mean, think about it. In Naruto, Choji can eat candy and instantly be thin and super powerful. And really, in most of these shows, death doesn't even matter, or at least it isn't really the end. And all of that seems really appealing until you think about what it means for the narrative. You see, when you make a fantastical world like that, it breeds creativity in what the characters can do and what can happen in the world. And that's a bit of a problem. Because when creativity is left unchecked, it can cause narrative issues, like plot holes or what's commonly referred to as ass pulls. For instance, and I know this isn't anime related, but it's something that bugs a lot of people. In the Harry Potter universe, the time turning thing that Hermione uses, which I'm not gonna look up what it's called, I'm hoping it's called a time turner, but I just don't care enough to look it up. Anyways, that thing can solve all their issues. Forever. But of course, because I'm sure J.K. Rowling eventually realized that, she neglected to bring it up ever again. And the same could be said for the Destructo Disc or instant transmission or like half of the powers in Naruto and Bleach. So by letting your creativity take hold of the narrative, it can sometimes cause issues. And the other issue that I brought up is called an ass pull, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically any power or narrative device that can be used as a Deus Ex Machina. Whis' time travel bit at the end of Resurrection F, senzu beans, and again, basically half the powers in Naruto or Bleach. So even if you get really powerful, you're probably not gonna be the main character, particularly because these narratives have already developed around a main character. Sure, you could be a really powerful character, you could be the main character's best friend, or have a side story, or even be a villain, but you're probably not gonna be the main character. And what this means is that no matter how much you train or how powerful you get in this universe, you're probably not gonna be much more powerful than a Piccolo or a Neji. And the ass pulls and plot holes probably aren't gonna work in your favor because again, you're not the main character. But that's all theoretical. What I want to talk about here is what anime world would probably be one of the best to live in, maybe. And the reality of the situation is that you're gonna want a world that you understand the rules in, and that the rules can't just change in because it suits the narrative. And there's probably two genres of anime in which you find that most often: slice of life and sports. Now, I'm not saying that slice of life and sports animes have better worlds than shonen, I'm just saying they're more consistent. Because both of those genres usually follow the same rules as our world, albeit a little bit more stylized. Because it's anime and everything's gotta look cool. Now, I've thought about this a lot, and I've tried to find the anime that most represents our realistic society, or at least the realistic rules to our society, while still remaining interesting and not just kind of being a love triangle. And for me, that world, no surprise if you're looking at the background over there, is Hajime no Ippo. Now, I'm not saying it's the best sports anime out there, I'm just saying it probably has the most consistent world because it's most in line with our own. You see, when I was growing up, I was boxing, and by boxing I mostly mean learning to box because my cousin was a boxer and he would teach me. So when I started watching Hajime no Ippo, I started recognizing some phrases like flicker jab and Dempsey roll, and when I saw it on the screen I was like, that looks pretty similar to the real life equivalent. It's not perfect, obviously, because anime has to over-exaggerate every single thing because they think if they don't, we won't stare at it. But given the fact that it needed to be stylized for anime, it's still pretty spot on. I mean, they do a good job of capturing that feeling in the ring when you're actually facing off against these techniques, and they do a good job of explaining why one technique might counter another. Really, this show did its homework, and I'm not saying other shows didn't do their homework like Kuroko no Basket or Initial D, but this one seems to have done a little bit more. I mean, they really get into the training aspect of it and how certain ththings that you might not even think connect are actually really good at training your body for this kind of physical endurance. The only real startling differences between Hajime no Ippo's universe and reality is that in Hajime no Ippo's universe, it seems like almost anybody can train to be as good as Ippo. And the whole fighting spirit aspect of it, which I just kind of attribute to willpower and pushing through the pain, and I think if anybody were to go to that universe, we could all probably do that, right? And again, I'm not saying Hajime no Ippo is the best anime and we should all want to live in that universe. I'm just saying that it's a universe where we understand the rules, where the rules probably aren't going to change on us, and where if we try hard enough, we can actually thrive, because it's essentially our reality. So back to the question at hand. If I could live in any anime universe at all, given everything that I've said and all of the things you're probably going to experience in those universes, well, I think the answer is pretty obvious. Full Metal Alchemist, bitch! I don't give a fuck!
He's a loser, he's a loser. I got a new car, driving slow from the start. It looks cool though, it looks cool though. It's not what I need, it's not what I feel. Break it down.